Welcome to this episode of Diaspora Scholars TV. So we are in Georgia. We are actually at the University of Georgia at the Center of Human Trafficking Research and Outreach. And we are here to meet Dr. Anne Waswa. She is actually the coordinator of monitoring and evaluation, right?
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I mean, it's a beautiful day outside. And we came here really interested to find out all about you, all about what you are doing at this university. I know you went to this school, but tell us in your own words, who is Anne Waswa? Yeah.
Okay, Anne Waswa is Kenyan, born and raised in Kenya, and then moved to the United States in 2016 for education, and currently works at the Center on Human Trafficking Research and Outreach as a research professional, specifically conducting monitoring, evaluation, and learning coordination on of all of our anti-trafficking projects.
All your anti-trafficking projects. Excellent. So, yeah, so definitely, and it sounds quite an undertaking, right? I mean, we've talked about human trafficking, we've seen in the media, mostly. But, of course, you guys are on the ground. You have all the data. You analyze all the data. And, of course, the end goal is to improve the outcomes on the victims.
Yeah. Okay, so, several end goals to reduce the prevalence of human trafficking.
Okay.
But before we reduce the prevalence of human trafficking, it's important that we understand what that prevalence is. So conducting research to understand what the situation is like, and then doing programming that uses different approaches, including providing protection services to victims and survivors of human trafficking. Also doing prosecution, that is where survivors of human trafficking seek justice, and then also doing prevention services. So that is where you're bringing in multiple stakeholders, creating awareness, also like deep down in the communities about human trafficking as an existing issue. Yeah.
Excellent. So, and I will come back to that, of course, but the most other thing that many of our viewers are interested in, they want to find out a little bit about your journey, all the way to becoming, a research professional at this institution. University of Georgia is a big school, and, getting a PhD, is not that easy. It has been a long journey, right?
Yes, very long.
Very long.
Yes.
So let's trace your journey back, and let's get to hear your story, because it's very inspirational in this program. You are a diaspora scholar, and many scholars will be watching all over the globe. We look at our analytics, we see people even from Pakistan, we see people from South Korea, they watch this show. And so tell us a little bit about your upbringing and eventually how you even came to the U.S.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So as I stated initially, I was born and raised in Kenya, born in Eldoret, but then went to primary school, that is grade 1 to 8. In Western Kenya, Mumia specifically, a school called Matawa Primary School. And then after that, I went for high school in Eldoret. I wasn't supposed to go to high school in Eldoret, but because of prevailing circumstances, I had to take the available option. So I was initially admitted to Butere Girls High School.
I can imagine you maybe were on top of the class at Matawa Primary School.
I was among the top, the best in math.
The best in math?
Yeah, overall.
I can see what is coming.
So I was admitted in Butere Girls High School. But then, growing up, I come from a very humble background. So we had challenges of raising the school fees and, of course, what the boarding school requires and all that. And earlier on, my family had experienced a loss. So I lost my eldest sister, who was like the breadwinner for the family, who I was very sure that whichever school I'm going to, she would pay my tuition fees. But then 2 years before, I finished my primary school, she passed on.
Oh,
so when it was time,
that was must have been devastating, right?
Yeah, it was. So when I got my results and admission to go to Butere Girls, I remember my father looking at the list of the requirements. They needed so many things. I don't know, gumboots, umbrella, all that. She looked at it and was like, "My daughter, I don't think we can make it. We can make it. So you'll just go to a school that we can afford." So I ended up actually joining high school late by almost 2 months.
Oh, wow.
Because they were still trying to like gather resources so that I could join the school. So I ended up at a day school, mixed day school in Eldoret called Umoja Secondary School. I'm not sure if it's anywhere on the map.
You put it on the map.
Yeah, I put it on the map.
You put it on the map.
Yes.
And even before you go to Umoja, high school in Eldoret, Matawa Primary School was also a day school.
Yes. Yeah, I've never been to a boarding school my entire life. So I was in mixed day schools throughout until I got to the university. That is when I left home. So that is what felt like boarding because I was away from home for the first time. Yes.
So in this primary school, you would walk to school, or tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yes. I'd walk to school barefeet, no shoes.
Barefeet?
Yeah. So.
But that was a normal thing then.
Yes, it was a normal thing, and we were happy because to us, I think that was normal. Looking at it back then. But yes, I would walk to school every day. Sometimes I would go back home for lunch, sometimes not. But I was lucky in the sense that I got a lot of favor with the teachers. So, back home, like the teachers get their meals prepared for lunch at school. So there are these, at least 2 teachers who would call me during lunch and give me food.
Wow, because they know you have the plight at home.
Yes. So, because sometimes I couldn't go home for lunch, so they would just call me and then give me a plate of food. That is back when I was in primary school. So, yes, that life wasn't easy as well because at some point we were paying like remedial fees and a little fees here and there. And I remember being sent home most of the time.
Wow.
To go and get the money, but I'm glad through it all I was able to
pass with flying colors.
Yes, and be admitted to a now national school, though I never made it to
the popular Butere Girls.
Yes. But yeah, I ended up at Umoja Secondary School, which is another story too.
That story is going to be said today. That's why we do this. We've talked about this quite a while since last year about this interview. So today we tell the story. Tell us about Umoja High School in Eldoret.
Yes. So initially, I was actually, because I had performed well in my primary school, they secured a space for me for a better school in terms of performance than Umoja Secondary School. So it was Wasinigishu High School, which is a pretty good known school.
Really a good school, yeah.
But then again, because of lack of resources, my parents were late to like get the money for admission, so I lost that chance. So I ended up at Umoja Secondary School, joined high school almost 2 months later because of lack of finances to support my being at school. But through it all, God was very faithful. So what happened actually is that my mom had a friend. So it's this friend who was supporting my high school education partially. But in exchange, I would work for her like over the weekends. I will be going to her place. She had one little child, like months old, and then another child who was in 5th grade at the time. So like over the weekend, because she was working and the husband was working, I would go to her place at 8 in the morning. Wow. And then she would leave me with the child, go to work, and then you have to take care of the child. So babysit. Yes. Not just babysitting, but cleaning the house.
It's more than...
Cleaning the clothes and all that, because they're not washing machines. So you'll
you wash the
washing, and then you have to iron, you have to cook and all that. But because I really wanted to be in school, I was willing to do whatever it took, as long as it was legal, for me to get money to go to school. So that is what I would do over the weekends and over the holiday. And then in return, she would pay part of my school fees, not the entire school fees. And actually wasn't too much money looking at it back then, because the entire year school fees was like 16,000 Kenyan shillings, which is like $160. But still, that amount was difficult.
It was not easy to get.
Yeah.
Wow. So there you go now. You finished high school and again you passed.
Yes. So even this high school, out of the 4 years, I tell people I was in high school for 2 years. Because back home, when you haven't completed paying your school fees, they send you back home. But so what used to happen, I had a really good friend who was a neighbor. So whenever they would send me back home, for her, they were like a little bit well off. So her parents used to pay her school fees. I would be going to her place in the evening, take the notes, and just self-educate myself because my mom never went to school. So I couldn't rely on her to like teach me those complex concepts. So I would be just taking the notes, copying them, and then self-teach myself. And sometimes I would even be at home for like 2 weeks. But then, back home in high school, they do this mock exams, which is like a competition between like different schools in the district. So because teachers knew my performance would raise the mean score of the school, when it was time for the mock exam,
so they really brought you back.
They would call me. They would tell my friend, tell her to come to school. And so I would go back to school. You could happily
go back, of course.
Yes, because that is where I want to be. I want to study. So I would go back to school, and God was very faithful. And He is still very faithful until now, because the school was big. Like, we had like 4 streams of like we'll have from 4 east, west, north, and south. So that's at least 160 students. But I would be at home for like the 2 weeks and just self-educating myself. And then I just get into the classroom and start doing an exam. But then when results come, I'm topping the class.
Top of the class.
So that it's something I haven't really understood until today. But I just say that is the faithfulness of God. If you put in the work, God cannot disappoint you.
If you put in the work, God cannot disappoint you. We are talking about Dr. Anne Waswa, who is currently working as a research professional right here at the Center on Human Trafficking and Research and Outreach at the University of Georgia, in Athens, Georgia. You are incredible. I mean, I know you look back. You say you used to go barefoot. I'm sure you have a lot of shoes.
Now I have a lot of shoes. back then I would borrow, because there would be events where like maybe it's prayer day. I remember actually during my prayer day in class 8, I had to borrow shoes.
And some of them would even be ill-fitting.
Oh God, like my feet were suffering. But I say that because for where I'm at right now.
Thank God, surely, and for sure you keep saying, if you are true to your word and you are faithful, then God will never let you down.
Never.
Oh my goodness, we can't stop doing this. That's why we go all over the US, folks. People wonder how I do it, but don't worry about me. Keep subscribing to this channel, because we are determined, again, as I keep saying, to find people like Dr. Anne Waswa, wherever they are, villages, cities, small towns, big towns, until we get to you all what you need to know about how to be successful. And again, my name is Dr. Ari. Subscribe to this show. Asante sana.
Thank you.
This is just part 1. We're just beginning. These were words. I don't know. You need a room to just display all of them.